Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John's report is for, well, it'll be the 9th of March. Still currently the 8th. Market's closed right at the 50%. So even though we had the strong impulse that Magenta, as I was talking about, continued to move upward, and that was enough to sustain it, you still have orange rising. So if bulls, from this standpoint, are able to weather the storm of the strong DOC cyan rejection and turn things around a little bit, we could end up with a pretty quick spider effect here where cyan dips, green comes, and we start another move. Still, as I was talking about before, I consider the 4008 more the draw. Then we went past it before, pushed right back up to it. We're still there. So we're still in that uncertainty mode where everyone's sort of comfortable in this range at this particular time, given the circumstances that exist as we are right now. The NASDAQ underperforming slightly because we would expect that to still be right up closer to that 12,447 number. So that's a couple hundred short of where it is currently. And that underperformance kind of being seen right here when you had red leading as well as the white magenta, and those are both powerful weakness signals, but it was still enough to hold on to the support. So from that standpoint, shorts really weren't super activated that they were able to do it, nor were you having extreme bull selling. So a lot of people were seeing this as an opportunity to buy into that dip, so to speak, thinking that maybe they didn't miss it on the reverse side coming back up. And treasuries, of course, yield coming back down just a little bit, still way too high from where it is there on the TLT reading from a treasury standpoint. Oil fading a little bit. Again, it's an interesting one because, again, this is really going to be more reflective of how the dollar behaves, I think. And we saw, again, more crude draws. So, economic activity is not at standstill. So that's also another net positive. We expected 0% off the rise of the white MBI, and you have a strong short move there. And this is the one we were talking about. It was too deep here, so any rally is likely to roll back over. And then it's the second one. Now, the key is, though, you got to have a shakeout that's higher. So we have to see that shakeout improvement, and that would form that second bottom. So lower or equal price at higher shakeout readings, nice divergence. That would set up the upside. Flipping over to the euro, and again, right back in that middle range here. We're still stuck. As long as, like I said, it holds above that 104 range, I think that it's still safe. But again, I don't have to go over the same story about the Eurozone being a disaster, not even worthy of where it's trading at this particular stage. Bitcoin is suffering under some of this softness because there's other draws. I mean, you're going to get an inflation-adjusted lower return with treasuries in them, but you certainly don't have volatility, and you certainly have the security of a guaranteed principal. And so the appeal here, not quite there. If inflation prints out higher again, I think that Bitcoin certainly is going to make a secondary run, but as long as you got white MBI leading, it's not going to do a whole lot of anything. So that's a pretty simple one to see on our charts. Let's flip to ETH. Looks pretty much identical for the same setup here. So you're holding at the 61 and not quite as strong as short presence here, but we're starting to see a little pickup of short-term buyers. So that could be enough to hold it in place. From 50K, it was still back and forth from the various short setups that were built into it. The long had a brief moment that it was doing fairly decent, and then that turned around towards the break-even spot and faded off a little bit. And then white took a lead here. Now magenta's still leading, but they're virtually tied. I think magenta's leading by 1 right now here in the post market, so that can flip pretty quick. The intraday was really chaotic from a 5K standpoint. Look at that noise. That's an indication that nobody really had a handle on it. We started to get some scale moves here where they were starting to catch some momentum, but it was just kicking back, and everything was just turning back and forth. So you're just getting an equilibrium, and so it's just the mean reversion back to the exact same spot, and we're at the exact same algo where it all began, right there at that 39.92. And we're on the upside of it right now. So choppy, but needless to say, still fitting within the algo levels that had been pre-established, and not having any conflict with that. And that's a sign of what I call healthy behavior. So from that viewpoint, I'm not expecting any catastrophe, so to speak. Any selling is going to be easily seen by us, any buying as well, and it'll be fairly simple to follow along. So that's the long and the short of it. As it's going to be Thursday, so there you have it. Trade well. We'll talk again later for the Landscape Chat.